The armory stretched out like a cathedral of war. Lights gleamed off weapons that Hana had only seen in training videos. Back on Earth, floating displays showed rifles that could melt through steel, guns that fired pure energy, weapons that bent gravity itself to crush targets. All around her, alien cadets picked their tools of death with excited clicks, chirps, and growls. Hana walked past them all. Her boots echoed on the metal floor as she headed to the far corner where a small locker sat, marked with Earth's blue and green symbol. She pressed her thumb to the scanner, and the door hissed open. Inside, wrapped in old cloth, was her rifle. She lifted it carefully. The weight felt right in her hands. Wood and metal, simple and solid. She unwrapped the cloth, and there it was. The M1 Garand her grandfather had carried, modified for modern ammunition, but still the same weapon that had seen real war on Earth centuries ago. What is that? The voice came from above her. Hana looked up to see a massive creature, scaled and purple, with 4 arms and eyes that gleamed with amusement. Rixel. Everyone knew him. Top of the combat class, winner of every simulation. It's my rifle, Hana said quietly. Rixel leaned closer, his breath smelling like sulfur. That's not a rifle. That's a museum piece. Does it even work? Other cadets began to gather. A floating jellyfish creature bobbed closer. Something that looked like a walking crystal chimed with laughter. More voices joined in. Look at the human with her antique. Does it shoot rocks? Someone tell her this is a military academy, not a history class. Hana's face grew hot, but she kept her expression calm. She checked the rifle over, ignoring the laughter. The action was smooth. The barrel clean. Everything perfect. Hana, come on. Yuna appeared at her elbow, her friend and roommate, another human who looked embarrassed. Just grab a plasma rifle like the rest of us. Why make things harder? This is what I trained with, Hana said. You trained with that? Rixel's laugh boomed across the armory. Humans really are primitive. Next, you'll tell us you still use knives in close combat. We do, Hana said simply. The laughter grew louder. Cadets were pointing now, taking pictures with their neural implants. Hana felt like an insect under glass. She started to turn away when she felt eyes on her. Different eyes. Watching, not mocking Don across the armory, Instructor Kale stood perfectly still. The Voltraxian was old by any species standard, with 3 eyes and skin like warm leather. Scars covered his arms. He had been in real battles, not simulations. His center eye was fixed on Hana's rifle, and his expression was unreadable. He tapped something on his datapad and walked away without a word. Even? The instructor thinks you're crazy, someone muttered. Hana slung the rifle over her shoulder and walked out of the armory. Behind her, the laughter continued. Yuna hurried to catch up. Why that rifle? Yuna asked when they were in the corridor. There are weapons here that can shoot through walls, around corners, track targets automatically. Why stick with something so old? Hana touched the wooden stock. My grandfather survived 3 wars with this. My mother qualified expert marksman with it. It's never failed my family. Why would I trust anything else? Because this isn't Earth. These aliens have been fighting in space for thousands of years. Their weapons are better. Maybe, Hana said. We'll see. The next morning, all the cadets assembled at the firing range. It was massive, with holographic targets that could appear anywhere, move at any speed, and shoot back with simulated rounds. Get hit, and your suit would shock you. Get hit in a kill zone, and you were out. Rixel went first. His plasma rifle hummed to life, glowing blue. He fired in rapid succession, barely seeming to aim. Targets exploded into light. His score climbed and climbed. When he finished, the board showed 97% accuracy. The crowd cheered. Rixel raised his forearms in victory. Other cadets went next. Energy weapons created light shows of destruction. Some rifles fired so fast they sounded like one continuous scream. The scores were all high. These weapons made killing easy. Then it was Hana's turn. She walked to the firing line, and the whispers started immediately. The laughter was quieter now, more uncertain, but still there. She could hear Rixel making jokes behind her. Hana loaded her rifle. The clip slid in with a click that seemed too quiet compared to the humming energy weapons. She pulled back the bolt and let it slam forward. The sound was sharp and mechanical. A target 100 meters away. Hana raised the rifle to her shoulder, breathed out slowly, and squeezed the trigger. The crack of the gunshot was like thunder. Every head turned. Chemical propellant weapons weren't common in the galaxy anymore. Most cadets had never heard one fire. The target registered a hit. Dead center. Hana worked the bolt. Another round chambered. Another target appeared. She fired. Hit. The rhythm became natural. Breathe, aim, squeeze. Work the bolt. Breathe again. No fancy targeting computer. No auto-tracking. Just iron sights, muscle memory, and discipline. Her score climbed. Not as fast as Rixel's, because she couldn't fire as quickly. But every shot landed. Every target fell. When her clip was empty, the rifle made that distinctive ping as it ejected. Hana reloaded smoothly and continued. The laughter had stopped completely now. Cadets watched in silence as the human with the old rifle matched scores that advanced weapons achieved. But something else was happening that only a few noticed. The targets weren't just registering hits. They were registering penetration. Deep penetration. The holographic enemies showed damage that went through armor, through cover, through materials that would stop energy weapons cold. Instructor Kale watched from the control room. His three eyes narrowed. He tapped his datapad again. When Hannah finished, her score was 89%. Lower than Rixel, but well above the passing grade. She cleared her rifle and turned to leave the line. Cadet Hannah, Kale's voice came over the speaker system. Report to my office after the exercise. The rest of you, continue. Every eye followed Hannah as she walked off the range. Una gave her a worried look. Rixel's amusement had been replaced with something else. Confusion, maybe. Or the first hint of concern. In the corridor, away from the others, Hannah allowed herself a small smile. The rifle was warm in her hands. It felt like home. Whenever Instructor Kale wanted to discuss, she was ready. The galaxy could laugh at Earth's old weapons all it wanted. But Hannah knew something they didn't. Something the galaxy had forgotten in its rush toward energy weapons and advanced technology. Sometimes, the old ways worked best. Sometimes, simple was better than complicated. Sometimes, a lump of metal moving very fast was all you needed to win a fight. Her grandfather had known it. Her mother had known it. And now Hannah would show them all. The rifle had secrets. Deadly secrets. And Instructor Kale, with his three eyes and his battle scars, looked like someone who might already know what those secrets were. Instructor Kale's office was different from what Hannah expected. She thought it would be clean and modern like the rest of the academy. Instead, it looked like a museum of war. Weapons from 100 worlds hung on the walls. Some were elegant, all curves and light. Others were brutal, covered in spikes and stained with old blood. Each one had a small plaque with writing Hannah couldn't read. Kale sat behind a desk made from what looked like the hull of a destroyed ship. His three eyes watched her enter. He didn't tell her to sit. Do you know what that is? Kale pointed one clawed finger at her rifle, which Hannah held at rest position. It's an M1 Garand, sir. Modified for modern ammunition, but keeping the original design from Earth year 1936. I know what it's called. Kale stood and walked around his desk. He moved slowly, like someone whose bones hurt. I asked if you know what it is. Hannah wasn't sure how to answer. It's a rifle, sir. It's a problem. Cale stopped in front of her. He was tall, even for a Veltraxian, and his three eyes could look at her face, her rifle, and the door all at once. Do you know why I called you here? No, sir. I served with humans once. 20 years ago, before Earth joined the Coalition. There was a war. Small war, barely worth remembering. Pirates thought they could raid Earth's colony ships. They were wrong. Cale turned and walked to the window. Outside, other cadets were running through obstacle courses, training for a future war that would probably involve energy shields and plasma fire. I was there when human soldiers arrived, Cale continued. We thought we were saving them. Primitive species, barely space-worthy, definitely not ready for combat. We were very confident. He turned back to face Hannah. Then we saw humans fight. And I learned something that day. Something that changed how I understood warfare. Hannah remained silent, waiting. Energy weapons are efficient, Cale said. They're clean. They don't need ammunition in the traditional sense, just power cells. They can be adjusted for stun or kill. They're perfect for the modern battlefield. He paused. But they have weaknesses. Weaknesses that most species have forgotten because energy weapons are all they've known for thousands of years. He walked closer to Hannah. Your rifle is one of those weaknesses. No, not a weakness. An answer to those weaknesses. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm not sure, sir. Cale gestured for her to place the rifle on his desk. Hannah did, carefully. He didn't touch it, just looked at it with all three eyes. When I watched you on the range today, I saw something that the other cadets missed. They saw your accuracy. Good, but not exceptional by Academy standards. What they didn't see was the penetration data. He pulled up a holographic display. It showed the targets Hannah had hit with damage analysis scrolling beside each one. Do you see these numbers? This is how deep your bullets went. Through armor that would stop plasma. Through shields that would diffuse laser fire. Your bullets didn't care about any of that. They just kept going. Hannah leaned forward, studying the data. She'd never thought about it that way. Most species in the Coalition use armor designed for energy weapons, Cale explained. It disperses heat. It reflects certain wavelengths of light. It can even bend plasma around the body. But none of that helps against a solid object moving at 850 meters per second. He zoomed in on one target. This simulated armor would take 7 direct hits from a standard plasma rifle to breach. Your single bullet went through it, through the body behind it, and lodged in the wall behind that. One shot, complete penetration. Hannah felt a chill run down her spine. She'd known her rifle was powerful, but hearing it explained this way made it seem almost wrong. Too dangerous. There's more, Cale said. Energy weapons have signatures. They build up power before firing. They create heat. They register on sensors from hundreds of meters away. Smart enemies can detect when you're about to shoot and dodge or shield accordingly. He pointed at her rifle again. That makes no signature until you pull the trigger. The explosion happens inside a sealed chamber. By the time any sensor picks it up, the bullet has already arrived. Do you understand how valuable that is? Hannah nodded slowly. It's a surprise every time. Exactly. Cale turned off the hologram. Your weapon also doesn't rely on power cells. It won't shut down in an electromagnetic pulse. It won't fail if the power grid is disrupted. It's independent, self-contained, reliable. He looked at her directly, all three eyes focused. That's why I called you here. To warn you. Warn me, sir. You're gonna make enemies, Cadet Hannah. Not just the cadets who laughed today. Real enemies. The Coalition's weapons manufacturers sell energy weapons to every species in the galaxy. It's a trillion-credit industry. If Earth's kinetic weapons prove superior in certain situations, that threatens their business. Kale walked back to his desk. More than that, you represent something the Coalition tried to keep quiet. Humans are dangerous. Not because you're strong or fast. You're not. But because you come from a death world where everything tried to kill you for millions of years. You learn to kill better than almost anyone. Your weapons reflect that. Hannah felt her hands clench into fists. Are you telling me to switch weapons, sir? No. Kale's mouth twisted into what might have been a smile. I'm telling you to be ready. Tomorrow, you face the gauntlet. 3 days in a combat simulation with real consequences. Cadets get hurt. Some quit. Most fail. He sat down heavily. You're going to be grouped with cadets who think you're useless. They'll try to sideline you. Ignore your input. Maybe even put you in danger to prove a point. Especially Rixel. He's arrogant, but he's not stupid. You threatened his position today. I can handle it, sir. I believe you can. Kale picked up his datapad. But understand this. When you succeed, when you show everyone what that rifle can really do, things will change. For you, for Earth, for the whole Coalition. Are you ready for that responsibility? Hannah thought about her grandfather, who'd carried this rifle through mud and blood. About her mother, who taught her to shoot before she could ride a bike. About Earth, the new species in a galaxy of ancients, trying to prove it belonged. Yes, sir. I'm ready. Kale nodded. Good. Dismissed. And Cadet Hannah? In the gauntlet, trust your instincts. Trust your training. And trust that rifle. It won't let you down. Hannah picked up her weapon, saluted, and left the office. In the corridor, her mind raced. Everything Kale said made sense. But it also made her nervous. She just wanted to honor her family by using their rifle. She hadn't thought about industry threats or galactic politics. Yuna was waiting outside. What did he say? Are you in trouble? No, Hannah said, walking toward their quarters. But I think I'm about to be. That night, Hannah cleaned her rifle by hand, the way her grandfather had taught her. Each part disassembled, inspected, cleaned, and put back together. It was meditation. It was prayer. It was preparation. The wooden stock felt smooth under her fingers. The metal parts gleamed in the soft light of their room. She worked the bolt action, hearing the satisfying click of the mechanism. Perfect. Always perfect. Yuna watched from her bunk. You really love that thing, don't you? It's not just a thing, Hannah said softly. It's family. My grandfather carried it in the water wars. My mother used it to defend our settlement from raiders. Every scratch, every dent, tells a story. How can I not love it? The other weapons don't have scratches or dents. They're newer, better. Hannah slid the bolt home and shouldered the rifle, sighting down the barrel at an imaginary target. Newer doesn't mean better. And perfect looking doesn't mean reliable. This rifle has been tested in real combat for centuries. Those energy weapons? Most of them were designed in computer simulations. Never fired in anger. Never proven. She lowered the rifle and began reassembling it. Tomorrow, we'll see which matters more. Fancy technology or proven reliability. Yuna was quiet for a moment. You know they're going to try to make you fail, right? Rixel and his friends. They don't like being shown up by a human with an old gun. Let them try, Hannah said. She clicked the final piece into place and ran a cloth down the barrel one last time. I didn't come here to make friends. I came here to prove Earth belongs in this coalition. That humans are more than primitive newcomers. You're just one person with one rifle. Hannah smiled. My grandfather used to say that one person with a rifle and the will to use it can change the world. Tomorrow, I'm going to change their world. Show them what Earth can do. She wrapped the rifle in its cloth and placed it beside her bunk. Tomorrow, the gauntlet would begin. 3 days of combat simulation against the best cadets from a dozen worlds. 3 days to prove that Earth's warriors were just as deadly as any alien soldier. 3 days to show them all what that old rifle could really do. Hana lay down, but sleep didn't come easily. Her mind kept going over Instructor Kale's words. The penetration data, the lack of energy signature, the independence from power systems. All advantages she'd never really considered. She just used the rifle because it was familiar. Because it was family. But now she understood. It wasn't just a family heirloom. It was a tactical advantage. And tomorrow, everyone would see it. The second day of the gauntlet brought new challenges. The dome's environment shifted to urban ruins. Buildings collapsed and crumbling, perfect for ambushes. The team's energy weapons had recharged overnight, but everyone looked at Hana differently now. Even Rixel asked her opinion before making decisions. "We need to secure 3 supply caches," Rixel said, studying the map on his repaired helmet display. "They're spread across the city. We have 8 hours. Split up?" Sel suggested. "No," Hana said immediately. "That's what they want. Divide and conquer. We stay together." Rixel nodded. "Agreed. Hana, you take point with me. If we hit another EMP situation, you're our only reliable fighter." They moved through the ruined streets. Hana's rifle felt heavier today. She'd fired over 60 rounds yesterday, more than she'd ever shot in one day. Her shoulder was bruised purple, but she didn't complain. This was what she'd trained for. The first cache was in a collapsed shopping center. Too easy. Hana felt her instincts scream warning, but Rixel was already moving forward. "Wait," she started. The building exploded with gunfire. Not drones this time. The simulation had deployed advanced combat robots, human-sized and smart. They used cover. They flanked. They communicated with each other. "Fall back." Rixel shouted. But Minho was hit, stunned by a practice round that felt real enough. He went down hard. Yuna ran to drag him to cover, and a robot lined up a shot on her exposed back. Hana fired from the hip. The robot's head snapped back, critical systems destroyed. She worked the bolt, swung left, fired again. Another robot down. The team rallied, using her shots to identify targets. They extracted with the first cache, but barely. Dax had cracks across his entire torso. Sella's pistols were at 40% charge. Minho limped from the stun impact. 2 more caches, Rixel said grimly. "Ideas?" Hana studied the map. "The next cache is in an open plaza. Kill zone. They'll have high ground all around us. We need a distraction." "What kind of distraction?" Yuna asked. Hana looked at her rifle, then at the buildings around them. "The kind that makes them think we're somewhere we're not." It took 30 minutes to set up. They rigged Sella's spare power cells to explode on a timer, placed them in a building 3 blocks from the actual cache. When the cells detonated, the explosion lit up the drone sensors. Every combat robot in the area rushed toward the blast. The team sprinted to the plaza, grabbed the cache, and were gone before the robots realized they'd been tricked. "Smart," Rixel admitted. "Very smart." "Humans are good at cheating," Hana said with a small smile. "That's not cheating," Dax rumbled, his voice like grinding stones. "That's tactics. On Earth, we call it survival," Hana replied. "When you're not the strongest or the fastest, you have to be the smartest." The third cache was supposed to be the easiest, inside a parking structure with multiple escape routes. But when they arrived, they found another team already there. 6 cadets from different species, all armed, all looking desperate. The rules didn't forbid fighting other teams, but it was discouraged. Most teams avoided each other. But this group looked like they'd had a bad 2 days. Their leader, a tall insectoid alien named Kiro, clicked his mandibles aggressively. "That cache is ours," he said. "We got here first." "The cache doesn't belong to anyone," Rixel replied. "We all need it to pass. Then you'll have to go through us." Hana stepped forward, rifle ready. "Nobody needs to fight. There are other caches in the dome. Find one of those." Kiro laughed, a dry chittering sound. "And let you have easy points? I don't think so. Last chance. Leave now or..." He didn't finish. Alarms blared throughout the structure. The dome's control system was activating a special event. Holographic screens appeared in the air, showing a countdown. "Apex protocol activated," a mechanical voice announced. "All teams proceed to Central Arena. Final trial begins in 10 minutes. Kiro looked at the screens, then back at Hana's team. "This isn't over," he said, but he was backing away. His team followed. Rixel turned to Hana. "What's Apex protocol?" "I don't know," Hana admitted, "but it sounds bad." They ran toward the Central Arena, joining streams of other teams moving through the ruins. By the time they arrived, 20 teams had gathered, over 100 cadets total. The arena was a circular clearing surrounded by tall walls. "No cover, no escape." Instructor Kale's voice boomed from speakers. "Cadets, the gauntlet has been too easy this year. 80% of you are passing. That's unacceptable. Apex Protocol will fix this. You have one objective: survive for 1 hour against continuous attack. Teams that lose more than half their members fail completely. Good luck." The countdown hit 0. The sky darkened with drones. Hundreds of them. Combat robots poured from gates in the walls. Massive mechanical walkers stomped into view, each one 3 stories tall with enough firepower to level buildings. This wasn't a test. This was a massacre simulation. "Stay together," Rixel shouted. "Protect each other." The battle began. Energy weapons lit up the arena like a light show. Plasma bolts crossed in every direction. Drones fell, but more took their places. The noise was incredible, a constant roar of weapons fire and explosions. Hana found her rhythm again. Aim, fire, bolt, aim, fire, bolt. Each shot counted. Each bullet was precious. Yuna stayed on her left, feeding her clips when she ran dry. Minho covered her right, his plasma carbine pushing back robots that got too close. 5 minutes in, a walker focused on their position. Its main cannon charged up, preparing to fire a blast that would vaporize everything in a 20-meter radius. Hana aimed at its optical sensor cluster and fired 3 rounds in rapid succession. The walker staggered, blind, and other teams brought it down with concentrated fire. 10 minutes in, a quarter of the teams had already failed. Cadets lay stunned on the ground, suits shock-locked to prevent further movement. The survivors were being pushed together, forming desperate alliances. 15 minutes in, Dax went down. A heavy drone strike hit him dead center, cracking him completely in half. He'd never quit, never stop protecting the team. But even stone has limits. Minho screamed and unloaded his entire power cell into the drones above. Sella was crying as she fired her pistols, but her hands never shook. 20 minutes in, they were down to 5 team members. Hana, Yuna, Minho, Rixel, and Sella. Kiro's insectoid team was fighting nearby, down to 3 members. Other teams were scattered islands in a sea of enemies. Hana's arms burned. Her shoulder was bleeding where the rifle's recoil had split the old bruises. She could taste blood in her mouth from biting her lip too hard. But she kept firing. Kept her team alive. 20-5 minutes in, half the arena was covered in failed cadets. The remaining teams had formed a loose circle, backs together, firing outward. Species that had never worked together were covering each other. Enemies were becoming allies. The gauntlet was breaking down every barrier. 30 minutes in, Hana saw Instructor Kale watching from a control tower. His 3 eyes were fixed on her. She realized this was a test within a test. Not just of combat skills. Of something else. Something harder to measure. 30-5 minutes in, ammunition was running low across the arena. Energy weapons were overheating. Power cells were dying. The constant fighting was wearing everyone down. Cadets were making mistakes, getting hit, failing. 40 minutes in, that's when the second EMP hit. A massive pulse that shut down every energy weapon in the arena. Every helmet display went dark. Every shield generator failed. The only sounds were the mechanical whir of approaching drones, the screams of cadets, and one other thing. The crack-crack of Hana's rifle dot in the sudden silence. It sounded like thunder. Every head turned toward her. Hana stood her ground, still firing, never stopping, never slowing. She was down to her last spare clips, but cadets from other teams were running to her position, seeking shelter. Everyone who can fight hand-to-hand, make a perimeter. Rixel shouted, "Protect the human." Species who'd been enemies minutes ago now formed a defensive ring. Heroes insectoids used their hard shells as shields. A massive reptilian cadet grabbed drones with bare hands. Others threw rocks, used broken weapons as clubs, anything to hold the line dot at the center. Hana fired. Her vision blurred from exhaustion. Her hands were slick with blood from broken blisters. She couldn't feel her arms anymore. But she didn't stop. Yuno was beside her, not fighting but counting. Counting rounds. Counting targets. Calling out priority threats. Minho stood in front of her, taking hits meant for her. Sella used her dead pistols as clubs. 40-5 minutes. Hana's rifle jammed. A spent casing had stuck in the action. Her hands shook too badly to clear it properly. Panic started to rise. "Breathe," Yuna said calmly. "Just like on the range. You've done this 1,000 times." Hana closed her eyes. Took 1 breath. 2. On 3, she cleared the jam and fired again. 50 minutes. She was down to 8 rounds. 8 bullets between survival and total failure. She made them count. Only took shots she knew would kill. No wasted ammunition. No second chances. 55 minutes. 3 rounds left. The drones seemed endless. But the cadets around her weren't giving up. They'd seen what one human with an old rifle could do. They'd seen the power of simple, reliable technology. They weren't going to let her down. 50-8 minutes. 1 round left. Hana picked her target. A command drone that was coordinating the attacks. Kill it, and maybe the others would lose coordination. Long enough to survive 2 more. The final day of the gauntlet was supposed to be easy. A simple extraction mission. Get to the evacuation point and signal for pickup. After the horror of Apex Protocol, it felt like a gift, but Hana couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The dome was too quiet. The path to the extraction point too clear. She'd learned to trust her instincts, and they were screaming warnings. "Rixel," she said quietly. "This is a trap." The team was down to 4 after Dax's loss. Rixel, Hana, Yuna, and Minho. They'd bonded through blood and combat. When Hana spoke, they listened. "What kind of trap?" Rixel asked. "I don't know. But think about it. They hit us with Apex Protocol yesterday, eliminated most of the class. Why make today easy? Why give us a simple extraction?" Sella's voice crackled over their communicators. She was with another team, but had stayed in contact. "Anna's right. My team found the extraction point. It's surrounded by inactive drones. Hundreds of them. Just sitting there, waiting." Rixel cursed in his own language. "So we're supposed to walk into a killing field. What's the play? Hannah looked at her rifle. She'd cleaned it last night, inspected every part, replaced a worn spring with a spare from her kit. It was ready, but she only had 40 rounds left total. Once those were gone, she'd be as useless as everyone else in an EMP field. We need to think like humans, Hannah said slowly. Fight smart, not fair. What does that mean? Minho asked. It means we don't go to the extraction point. We make the extraction point come to us. It took 2 hours to set up. They found a defensible position in a narrow canyon with high walls and only 2 approaches. Perfect for a small team against larger numbers. They rigged the area with every trap they could improvise. Rocks balanced to fall and crush drones. Wire strung across paths at neck height. Even some of Sella's spare power cells buried in the ground and set to explode on remote signal. Then Hannah did something that made even Rixel nervous. She fired 3 shots into the air, the noise echoing across the dome like a challenge. Are you insane? Yuna hissed. You just told every drone where we are. Exactly, Hannah said, reloading calmly. If this is a trap, let's spring it on our terms. In terrain we choose, where my rifle gives us the advantage. They waited. It didn't take long. Drones poured into the canyon like a metal flood. But the narrow space forced them to bunch up. Hannah fired from an elevated position, each shot taking down multiple drones as bullets over-penetrated and hit targets behind. Minho triggered the rock traps, crushing entire waves. Yuna detonated power cells at choke points, creating barriers of wreckage. The team fought like they'd trained together for years instead of days. Every member knew their role. They'd become something rare in the coalition military, a true mixed-species combat unit that worked as one. But the drones kept coming. Hannah was down to 20 rounds, then 15, then 10. Her shots had to be perfect now, no wasted bullets. We can't hold much longer, Rixel shouted. His plasma rifle was overheating, taking longer to recharge between shots. Yes, we can, Hannah said. We just have to outlast them. Everything runs out eventually. Even drones. She was right. At the 8-minute mark, the drone waves started thinning. At 10 minutes, only stragglers remained. At 12 minutes, the last drone fell to one of Hannah's bullets. Silence fell over the canyon. The team looked at each other in disbelief. They'd survived. Again. That's when Instructor Kale's voice came over all their communicators. All teams, cease fire. Exercise complete. Return to assembly point. The simulation ended. The drones that remained powered down. The gauntlet was over. Wait, Yuna said, confused. We didn't reach the extraction point. We didn't complete the objective. Did we fail? I don't think the objective was reaching the extraction point, Hannah said slowly. I think it was surviving, adapting, thinking instead of just following orders. At the assembly point, all surviving teams gathered. Only 6 teams remained from the original 30. The gauntlet had been brutal this year. Cadets looked exhausted, battered, but there was something else in their eyes now. Respect, pride. They'd survived hell together. Hannah's team stood together, 30 and wounded but standing. Rixel had burns across 2 of his arms. Minho limped badly. Yuna had a black eye from a drone impact. But they were alive. Commander Vess, the Academy's commandant, stepped forward. She was Aurelian, a species known for wisdom and long life. Her golden eyes swept across the assembled cadets. This year's gauntlet was designed to break you, she said. Her voice carried across the silent assembly, to push you past your limits, to see who would adapt and who would quit. Most of you failed, but those who stand here now have proven something important. She walked among the teams, studying each cadet. When she reached Hannah, she stopped. Cadet Hannah, step forward. Hannah did, rifle at rest position. She felt every eye on her. Her uniform was torn and bloody. Her hands were bandaged, but she stood straight. "You brought a weapon to this academy that many considered a joke," Commander Vess said. "A primitive tool from a primitive world. Tell me, do you still think it's superior to our advanced weapons?" Hannah thought carefully about her answer. "No, sir. It's not superior. It's different. Each weapon has advantages and disadvantages. The key is knowing when to use which tool for which job." Diplomatic answer. Commander Vess's mouth curved slightly, but not quite honest. Instructor Kale, show the recording. A holographic display appeared in the air, massive enough for everyone to see. It showed the Apex Protocol battle from multiple angles. The display focused on the moment after the EMP, when all energy weapons died and chaos erupted. Then it showed Hana, alone and armed, holding back the tide. The recording played in real time. Cadets watched in silence as Hana fired, worked the bolt, fired again, for 40 minutes without stopping. The other cadets forming around her. The desperate defense. The moment when everything should have fallen apart but didn't, because of one rifle that didn't care about electromagnetic pulses. One weapon that needed no power cells. One soldier who refused to quit. This cadet, Commander Vess said loudly, achieved something no one in Academy history has managed. She held defensive position solo for over 40 minutes against overwhelming odds. She saved not just her team, but 3 other teams as well. And she did it with a weapon most of you mocked 3 days ago. The clearing was silent. Cadets who had laughed in the armory now looked at the ground. Kiro, the insectoid who'd threatened them, bowed his head in respect. "The lesson here is not that kinetic weapons are better than energy weapons," Commander Vess continued. "The lesson is that diversity in warfare is strength. Earth brings something to the coalition that we lost long ago. The willingness to use simple, reliable technology when appropriate. The understanding that sometimes the old ways work best." She turned back to Hana. "You passed the gauntlet with highest honors. More than that, you've opened eyes throughout this academy. The coalition military is already requesting information about Earth kinetic weapons technology. Defense contractors want to study your rifle. Other species are asking about human combat doctrine. You started something, cadet. Are you prepared for that?" Hana remembered Instructor Kale's warning in his office. She thought about her grandfather and mother, about Earth's long history of warfare and survival. She felt the weight of her rifle, warm and familiar in her hands. "Yes, sir. I'm prepared." "Good." Commander Vess nodded. "Because this is bigger than you now. Bigger than Earth. You've shown the entire coalition that we've become too dependent on advanced technology. That we've forgotten the basics. That sometimes simple and reliable beats complex and powerful." She raised her voice so everyone could hear. "From this day forward, the Academy will include kinetic weapons training in its curriculum. Optional for non-humans, but available. We will learn from Earth. We will adapt. That is how the coalition stays strong. By taking the best from all our member species." The assembled cadets cheered. Even those who'd failed the gauntlet were applauding. Rixel stepped forward and raised Hana's hand like a champion. Other team members joined in. Soon, cadets from other teams were approaching, wanting to see the rifle, asking questions about Earth and human history. Later, as the sun set over the academy, Hana sat alone on a bench, cleaning her rifle one more time. The wood was scarred now, the metal showing new wear. But it still worked perfectly. Still reliable. Still deadly. Instructor Kale approached and sat beside her without asking. His 3 eyes watched her work. "You did well," he said simply. "Thank you, sir." "No, thank you. 20 years I've been trying to teach these cadets that technology isn't everything. That sometimes the old ways matter. They never listened. Until you showed them. Hannah looked at him. Why didn't you tell them yourself? You know, you fought with humans before. Because I'm an outsider. A Voltraxian telling them about human weapons? They'd think it was theory, opinion. But a human showing them in combat? That's proof. That's undeniable. He stood to leave, then paused. Your rifle made history today. There's already talk of calling this the Gauntlet of the Rifle, the year when everything changed. How does that feel? Hannah thought about it. Heavy, like I'm carrying more than just this rifle now. You are. You're carrying Earth's reputation, its place in the coalition. But if anyone can handle that weight, it's you. He started to walk away, then stopped. One more thing. The Gauntlet Dome rose before them like a dark mountain. It was massive, big enough to hold forests, ruins, and urban landscapes all at once. Inside, the environment would change without warning. Day to night. Desert to snow. The only constant was danger. Hannah stood with her assigned team, watching the dome's entrance. 6 cadets total. Herself and Yuna, the only humans. Minho, another human who'd chosen a plasma carbine. Rixel, who towered over them all. A slim blue-skinned alien named Sella, who carried twin energy pistols. And Dax, a rock-like being who needed no weapon because his body was a weapon. Rixel looked at them with his 4 arms crossed. Listen carefully. I'm team leader. You follow my orders without question. Understood? Everyone nodded, except Hannah. I said, understood? Rixel focused on her. I heard you, Hannah said. I'll follow orders that make sense. Rixel's scales darkened with anger. You'll follow all my orders, or you'll get us killed with that primitive toy of yours. Then don't give me stupid orders, Hannah replied calmly. Yuna grabbed her arm. Hannah, don't. But Rixel just laughed, though it sounded forced. Fine, but you stay at the back, away from real combat. We can't afford to wait while you load your bullets one at a time. The dome opened. The gauntlet had begun. Inside, the temperature dropped immediately. They were in a snowy forest, trees heavy with ice. The objective marker appeared on their helmet displays. They needed to reach a communication tower 3 kilometers away and hold it against attack. Move out, Rixel ordered. Standard formation. Dax on point, Sella and Minho on flanks. I'll take center. The humans stay in the back. They moved through the snow. It was quiet, except for the crunch of their footsteps. Too quiet. Hannah kept her rifle ready, eyes scanning the trees. Yuna walked beside her, plasma rifle charged. He's just scared, Yuna whispered. You made him look bad yesterday. I didn't make him do anything, Hannah said. I just shot my targets. They'd gone 1 kilometer when the ambush hit. Combat drones dropped from the trees like metal spiders. Their shields flared blue as the team opened fire. Plasma bolts struck the shields and scattered. Energy pistols rang out. Dax charged forward, his stone fists hammering at a drone. But the drones were learning. Their shields adjusted, becoming more resistant to each type of energy weapon. What started as 3 shots to kill became 5, then 7. They're adapting, Sella shouted. Switch frequencies. Rixel barked orders, coordinating their fire. 2 drones went down, but more were coming. The team started falling back. Hannah aimed carefully and fired. The crack of her rifle was harsh in the cold air. A drone sparked and fell, shield useless. She worked the bolt and fired again. Another drone down. What the? Rixel turned. How are you killing them so fast? They don't detect my weapon, Hannah shouted back. Their shields aren't activating. Understanding flashed across Rixel's face. Everyone, draw their fire. Let the humans shoot. The team changed tactics immediately. They fired at drones to get attention while staying mobile. Hannah took position behind a fallen tree and became a sniper. One shot, one kill. The drones couldn't adapt to what they couldn't predict. In 3 minutes, the ambush was over. 8 drones lay broken in the snow. Rixel approached Hannah, breathing hard. I was wrong about your rifle. Yes, you were, Hannah said, reloading. Don't push it. But Rixel's tone had changed. He addressed the team. New formation. Hannah takes shots when targets are shielded. The rest of us provide cover and suppression. Understood? Everyone agreed. Even Rixel had learned. They reached the tower by nightfall. It was a tall metal structure in a cleared area, perfect for defense, but also exposed. They had to hold it for 1 hour while waves of drones attacked. The team set up defensive positions. Hannah found a spot on the tower's 2nd level with good sight lines. Yuna stayed close with extra ammunition clips. The others spread out below. The first wave came from the east. 10 drones, shields active. The team opened fire, and Hannah picked off targets that got too close. The rhythm they'd found in the forest continued here. Energy weapons to harass, kinetic rounds to kill. The second wave was harder. 20 drones from 2 directions. Mingho took a hit, and his suit shocked him badly. He kept fighting but was slower. Dax's rock body started showing cracks from repeated hits. The third wave brought 30 drones and something new. Bigger units with heavier shields that could take even Hannah's bullets. She had to shoot twice, sometimes 3 times, to bring them down. We're running low on power, Sela called out. Her pistols were dimming. Conserve energy, Rixel ordered. Only shoot when you have a clear target. Hannah was down to her last 2 clips. 16 rounds. She had to make them count. The 4th wave arrived, and that's when everything went wrong. A massive drone, bigger than the others, descended from the sky. It didn't attack. Instead, it pulsed once with blue light. An electromagnetic pulse. Every energy weapon shut down instantly. Plasma rifles went dark. Energy pistols died. Even their helmet displays flickered and failed. The team was blind and defenseless. Except for Hannah. Her rifle didn't care about electromagnetic pulses. It didn't need power cells or computer chips. It was metal and wood and controlled explosions. It was primitive. It was perfect. Everyone get to cover, Hannah shouted. I've got this. You can't fight them alone. Yuna yelled. Watch me. 20 drones descended on the tower. Hannah fired, worked the bolt, fired again. Her shoulder ached from recoil. Her ears rang from the gunshots. But she didn't stop. Couldn't stop. The team rallied around her. Minho physically blocked drones from reaching the stairs. Dax used his body as a shield. Yuna fed Hannah ammunition, her hands shaking but steady. Rixel, powerless without his weapon, used his forearms to tear apart any drone that got close. For 12 minutes, Hannah held the line. Each shot had to count. Each trigger pull was life or death. The barrel of her rifle grew hot enough to burn. She ignored it. The drones kept coming. Hannah's world narrowed to the simple rhythm. Target, breathe, squeeze, bolt action, next target. Her hands moved automatically. Her grandfather's training, her mother's lessons, all the hours on the range back on Earth. Everything came together in this moment. A drone got past her fire. Dax caught it and crushed it with his massive hands. Another approached from the side. Minho tackled it off the platform. They were a team now. Really, a team. No more jokes about primitive weapons. No more doubts about Earth. Hannah's clip ran empty. The ping of ejection seemed too loud. Yuna slapped a fresh one into her palm. Hannah loaded it in 2 seconds and was firing again. 10 minutes left. Her shoulder was numb now. She'd stopped feeling the recoil. Blood ran down her hands from where the bolt action had scraped skin. She didn't care. 5 minutes left. The drones changed tactics. They tried to overwhelm the position all at once. Hannah fired as fast as she could work the bolt. The rifle grew so hot she could smell the wood burning. Still, she fired. 2 minutes left. Rixel was shouting something, but Hannah couldn't hear over the ringing in her ears. She just kept shooting. Kept the drones away from her team. Kept them alive. 1 minute left. Hannah's hands were shaking so badly she could barely work the bolt. But she did. She fired her last round at a drone that was inches from Sella's head. It dropped. The timer hit 0. The simulation ended. All the drones powered down. The lights came back up. Silence fell over the tower, except for the sound of 6 cadets, breathing hard. Hannah tried to lower her rifle, but her hands wouldn't let go. They were locked around it, cramped from gripping so tight. Yuna had to gently pry her fingers loose. "You did it," Yuna whispered. "You saved us all." Hannah looked around at her team. Dax had cracks across his entire body, but was giving her a thumbs up. Sella was crying but smiling. Minho looked at her with something like awe. And Rixel, proud Rixel who'd mocked her rifle, walked over and did something Hannah never expected. He knelt. "I was wrong," Rixel said quietly. "About you. About your weapon. About humans. You are a warrior. A true warrior. And I am honored to fight beside you." The other team members gathered around. They'd survived what should have been impossible. They'd done it together. But everyone knew the truth. Without Hannah's rifle, without that old Earth weapon that needed no power and made no electronic signature, they would have failed. That night, camped inside the dome, the team sat around a simulated fire. Other teams could be seen in the distance, their own fires marking their positions. The first day of the gauntlet was over. 2 more days to go. "Tell me about that rifle," Rixel said. "Really tell me. Where does it come from?" Hannah held the weapon across her knees. She'd cleaned it as best she could with the supplies on hand. "It's old. From before humans went to space. We used weapons like this in all wars. Thousands of them. Millions of them. When we fought each other, why keep using them? You have energy weapons now." "Because they work," Hannah said simply. "Because they're reliable. Because when everything else fails, a rifle like this will still fire. That's what my grandfather taught me. Fancy weapons are good until they break. Simple weapons just keep working." Sella spoke up. "My people abandoned kinetic weapons 10,000 years ago. We thought they were crude, barbaric. But watching you today, I understand. Sometimes crude is better." "It's not crude," Hannah said. "It's refined. Perfected over centuries of use. Every part has a purpose. Nothing wasted. Nothing unnecessary. That's not primitive. That's elegance."